Thank you very much. So it really is an honor to be here once again at Digital at Sea. It is my privilege. I really do wish I could be there in person, but what a great opportunity we have to have this ability to work within this hybrid environment. We certainly have come a long way. And from these presentations, we definitely have come a long way with that concept of the international cooperation for maritime digitalization. Now, I think I've been given a bit of a challenge to come with some solutions, but we've actually been listening to a number of solutions within this environment. So I'm actually going to focus a little bit more on the ideas and perhaps at the end put forward a few more challenges for this idea of international digitalization. Of course, just very briefly, to start, you may have my company reference within your program there, but also I am still very honored to represent the Nautical Institute as the immediate past president in my own work and with the work in the Nautical Institute and with the work that I do with IALA. I continue to focus on digitalization of the maritime environment. The Nautical Institute is very active in this area as well, and you may have actually seen just on Tuesday of this week, the workshop that we put on place, a seminar on mariners and the technology tide. And that was put on by the members of the Autonomous Technology Advisory Group, or the ATAG working group at the Nautical Institute. So just for now, for today, what I'm going to speak, I will look back a little bit at some of the past presentations that I've done at Digital at Sea and what you have been saying with regards to the international role and the role of cooperation. Then we'll take stock of where we are now. However, we've been doing and hearing from a lot of excellent presentations already, and you do have a lot in the future of this conference to look ahead at where we might be. So looking back a little bit, do you remember this slide? In 2020, I asked, what does cooperation mean to you? And these words came out, especially the ones that are larger are really out there, that together, the idea of harmonization, which we have heard a fair bit right now. Sharing of information, collaboration, the common interest, looking towards those aspects of understanding, a common goal. So cooperation within this environment, we are seeing it as actually happening. But in 2020, this is a slide that we said, and actually I want us to remember that because harmonization, working together, collaboration with a common goal, a common interest. I also asked you how much you agreed with these statements. These statements about cooperation and digitalization were highlighted at the time. The main concern was the maritime industry does not seem to have an effective approach to standardization. So that was the one that had the lowest rating. From what we have seen today already in this conference, we are seeing a growth and a push towards that standardization. But I do note the comments from the Secretary General of IALA at the end of the last session about the fact that we're still working towards this harmonization. It's very difficult. In this environment, though, we were talking about digitization and digitalization, and I do want to remind us what the difference is, because we do talk about the digital environment and digital data, but digitization is simply that process of converting information from a physical format into a digital one. We have gone beyond that. We are working in this digitalization, that process of leveraging the data from the digitization to improve business processes. So we're starting to see that the digital data exchange is just one part. And the last few presentations in this session really were highlighting that. We've gone beyond, yes, we need to get the data exchange, but we need the value from that data. We need to be able to visualize that data or to have, as Thomas just said, that machine-to-machine reading of that data, moving us into the future. So the focus, I feel, from the work that we've done in 2020 was on international cooperation which at its core is a focus on working together with a shared vision to realize the benefits of digitalization in the maritime industry. So let's just go forward a year. And just last year, we started looking then and saying, well, we know where we want to be. What's holding us back? So what are we doing about this? Standards were once again highlighted along with this global access to communications, frustration with keeping up with that speed of change. So we have this ongoing need for common standards. Beyond that, we need the availability of those standards. And that was highlighted as well. Noting the item that came in at item 4 there, the high cost to access some of these standards may preclude global implementation because they just aren't available. If we truly want that harmonized approach, we need to have that access to standards. I really appreciate that presentation from NavLink as well, where they're actually providing an opportunity with the platform really to get that out there. If we're going to have that international cooperation, we have to sort of balance out that shared vision and that desire for cooperation with also the commercial entity and desire to make a profit. So somehow we have to work with those together. That brings me to that second level one about the global access to digital communications, the digital divide. We know it exists. The move to embrace digital working methods really highlighted that. And throughout COVID and now in the post-COVID timeframe, we still see this lack of access to digital data and to communications. And it's not just from the sea, from the ship to the shore, it's also at various ports and various areas around the world where we're dealing with this digital divide. And so we really need to have that international, the globalization, the harmonization. We need to ensure that we address that digital divide. And of course, the only constant is change. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel I am always constantly chasing things that are changing. I'm trying to keep up. This leads us as well to rethink, how do we train? And I appreciate Mahesh actually included that in his presentation. How do we train? How do we retrain? How do we rethink the training and the upskilling? I think that needs to really stay high on our agenda. What was most interesting with those phrases, as there doesn't seem to be as much concern about our job and our job security. Digitalization is changing the way that we're working, but it's not actually reducing our opportunities. It's actually enhancing those opportunities. So let's take stock. What have we learned? We can collaborate across distance and time. And I think I will take you up on that, Thomas, and try and participate with that session at IALA next week through the hybrid environment. We have shared challenges, and that leads to increased cooperation. We have increased opportunities within a shrinking world. We know that digitalization and decarbonization go hand in hand, and we had excellent examples of that in the previous session. And I must indicate as well that through the digitalization, through the sharing of information, we actually can support diversity, equity, and inclusion, leading to more and more innovation. I don't know where to start when it comes to looking at this international cooperation at work. We have seen so many examples. We are addressing the world's challenges with these multilateral activities. And I've just given a couple of examples up there. The IMO fully online session earlier last week with the development of the regulatory framework for maritime autonomous surface ships. The work that IALA is doing, the work at the Royal Institute of Navigation, the conference that I mentioned from the ATAG meeting, the development of maritime informatics and training in maritime informatics. And additional sessions that are happening, that are popping up, such as the Center for Ocean Policy and Economics that I'm actually honored to work with as well. this is just scratching the surface of where we see international cooperation at work. So in essence, this cooperation is providing a means to address the many challenges that we face on a global scale. And this in turn strengthens individual organizations and encourages innovation. So where to now? Well, we're really doing so much already, but I would still like to challenge us. How can we build on what we've learned? How can we address those haves and have-nots, that digital divide? How can we continue to tackle these contemporary challenges together? We need to continue our work towards common standards with global access to these global communications. We need to build on what we've learned, continue to find these new ways to collaborate, and support full participation, support environmental, social, and governance factors. This will also bring us forward and support sustainability. We know we can never keep up with the speed of change. We definitely can't keep up with the speed of change alone, but we have a chance for cooperation through collaboration. As Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.